Long ago, in the heart of a lush valley, there was a village named Tswelopele. This was no ordinary village, it was a place of rhythm and sound. The air was always alive with music, flutes sang with the birds, strings hummed with the wind, and drums spoke to the spirits. Among all the musicians, none was more revered than Akinyi, the chief's son. Akinyi was a master drummer, his hands weaving rhythms that could stir even the ancestors. When he played, the rains came, crops flourished, and joy swept through the village like wildfire. Yet, for all his talent, Akinyi was consumed by arrogance. He would often say, "Do you see the mountains? They bow to my drum. Do you feel the rivers? They flow to my rhythm. The gods themselves dance to my beat." The villagers laughed nervously, unsure whether to admire his confidence or fear his hubris. One fateful evening, a stranger arrived. Madhu, a stooped old wanderer with a staff carved from ebony, hobbled into the village. His presence was unremarkable, save for his piercing eyes that seemed to see through people's souls. That night, as the villagers gathered under the great baobab tree, Akinyi took his place at the center. His grand drum gleamed under the moonlight, adorned with gold and cowrie shells. The crowd cheered as he struck the first note, a powerful beat that rippled through the earth. But as Akinyi drummed, Madhu stepped forward. "You are skilled," the old man said, his voice raspy yet commanding. The villagers fell silent. But skill without humility is a fire that consumes. Akinyi smirked, unfazed. "Old man, do you think you know more than I? The earth trembles at my rhythm. What could you possibly teach me?" Madhu smiled faintly. "Not teach, young one. Show. Let us see if your hands truly move the world." The villagers gasped as Madhu produced a small, weathered drum. It was unimpressive, its skin patched, its wood cracked. "Play this," Madhu said, placing the drum before Akinyi. "But know this drum echoes the heart of its player. Whatever lives within you will fill its sound." Akinyi laughed, dismissing the warning as the foolish ramblings of an old man. He sat and began to play. The first notes were mesmerizing, hauntingly beautiful. The villagers swayed to the rhythm, their doubts melting away. But as Akinyi's pride grew, so did the drum's tone. The rhythm turned wild, discordant, and unsettling. The villagers stopped dancing, their faces filled with unease. Suddenly, the drum let out a thunderous boom. The skies darkened, and the ground beneath Akinyi's feet cracked open. From the drum emerged a towering shadow, its eyes burning like molten fire. The villagers screamed and scattered, but Akinyi sat frozen, his hands still gripping the cursed drum. The shadow spoke, its voice deep and echoing. "You, Akinyi, have summoned me with your arrogance. You, who claim to command the earth, will now be cursed to wander it." Akinyi tried to protest, but the spirit raised a hand, silencing him. "From this day forward, your music will bring only misery. Your beats will summon famine, drought, and despair. Villagers will fall silent at your approach, and you will know the weight of your pride." The spirit turns to the villagers. He will find redemption only when his heart is humbled. Until then, he will walk alone. With that, the spirit vanished, taking Akinyi with it. All that remained was the faint echo of the drum and the whispers of the terrified villagers. 4 years, Akinyi wandered the land, cursed to bring calamity wherever he played. His once beloved music became a weapon of destruction. Villagers abandoned their homes at the sound of his drum, and his name became a warning told to children, "Beware the cursed drummer who brings ruin with every beat." Akinyi's pride crumbled under the weight of his loneliness. His hands, once celebrated, were now instruments of suffering. Not as a burden, but as a reflection of his own. Slowly, he took his drum and began to play. This time, the music was different. It was not grand or boastful but soft, mournful, and full of longing. Akinyi played from his heart, not for praise but for the people before him. His rhythm told a story of pain, regret, and hope. As the last note faded, the skies opened, and rain poured down. The villagers wept with joy, their fields drinking deeply of the life-giving water. The old woman approached Akinyi, tears streaming down her face. "Your curse has become our blessing," she whispered. Akinyi, too, wept. He had found a purpose in his suffering, though he knew the curse remained. As the villagers celebrated, he slipped away, his heart lighter but still bound by the spirit's decree. Years later, travelers spoke of a phantom drummer who roamed the African plains. His beats were said to summon rain and prosperity, but they carried a deep sadness, a reminder of a soul seeking redemption. And so, Akinyi's story became a legend, a tale of pride, despair, and the humbling power of a pure heart.